This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Crawford urges focus on 5 subjects for face-to-face classes. Opposition Senator Damian Crawford is recommending that secondary schools concentrate primarily on 5 subjects as students return to the classrooms during the pandemic with the need to observe social distancing guidelines. He said that if students want to do other subjects, they should be engaged online. And while supporting the government's move to extend secondary education for every student from 5 to 7 years, Crawford indicated that the timing for its implementation was ill-advised. He was making his contribution yesterday to the State of the Nation debate in the upper house. We might better be able to facilitate face-to-face with 5 subjects, and the other subjects can be online because the separation of students will take something additional than simply just saying they can be separated. In terms of the return to in-person learning, the senator questioned how social distance could be achieved in classrooms that previously accommodated 50 students. Maths and English for 4th and 5th form can be moved to Saturdays and Sundays, he suggested. For example, he said that on Saturdays and Sundays, students could benefit from 4 or 5 sessions of maths and English. Them could have them full week on a Saturday and a full week on a Sunday, relieving the classrooms for grades 7 to 9, he clarified. With public transportation being one of the major factors that contribute to the spread of COVID-19, Crawford wants the government to stagger the hours that schools begin in the morning to avoid children jockeying for space on buses with adults. He said that schools should begin at 10 a.m. and end at 3 p.m. If we move it to 10 a.m., some of the JUTC buses can become school buses, and those parishes that don't have JUTC can contract some of the private buses that run on the route to become school buses, he suggested. By doing this, he said, we might be able to separate our children sufficiently from our adults so that they can start to go to school. These are not things that are impossible to do, but these are not things that we have opened our minds to consider. He also wants the Education Ministry to partner with churches to use their facilities for learning. Parents could drop off their children right in their same community, and the church would put volunteers around those children, and that would become a space that the children can learn in, he said. Addressing the issue of vaccine hesitancy, the opposition senator chided Prime Minister Andrew Holness for characterizing people as fool and false prophets who refused to take the COVID-19 vaccines. When the vaccine came through the natural scientists, we should have engaged the social scientists to find out how people would respond to the vaccine, said Crawford. He added that it would be an effort in futility to try and shame people out of vaccine hesitancy, arguing that there has never been another vaccine shrouded in as much controversy. He said that a major negative was that the current vaccination drive had the least trusted people driving the conversation, noting that research has shown that politicians were among the least trusted people in the society. The last study says 8.4% of people trust the politicians. Why, with a thing dependent on trust, we are putting politicians at the forefront of the conversation? It is just not sensible to do, he said. Companies can institute vaccine policies without breaching Constitution, says Goff. Attorney at law Gavin Goff has stated that yesterday's ruling by the Supreme Court has shown that it is possible for companies to institute vaccine policies without breaching the Constitution if they follow certain procedures. The Supreme Court has granted an application by CariMed to strike out the constitutional aspects of a case brought by 5 employees who claimed their constitutional rights were being violated by the company's COVID-19 vaccination policy. It said the claimants should stick to arguing points related to their employment contract with the company. Goff, who represented the company, says the constitutional issues being raised were irrelevant to the case. They were arguing that it was a breach of their right to religious freedom, privacy, and they were engaging all of those rights. But first and foremost, you are an employee, and the employment relationship is one of a contract. So regardless of whether as a citizen on a national level, the differential treatment of vaccinated against unvaccinated persons might be something that is a matter for constitutional courts to determine. In this case, it really is a contract claim. Goff says the ruling suggests that vaccination policies do not always breach constitutional rights. But what the court is saying is that if you are not treating your employees in a capricious manner, ignoring their views, then you are less likely to be found to be violating anyone's constitutional rights, he added. Goff says the court is to rule on Tuesday whether the policy should apply to the employees. 15 bedridden inmates now receiving specialized care. 15 bedridden inmates are now receiving specialized care at the recently opened Department of Correctional Services Medical Center and Infirmary at the Tamarind Farm Adult Correctional Center in St. Catherine. The inmates were transferred from the St. Catherine and the Tower Street Adult Correctional Centers to the 25-bed facility, the first of its kind, which caters to inmates in need of special care and medical treatment. Minister without portfolio in the National Security Ministry, Senator Matthew Samuda, told Friday's sitting of the Senate that the new arrangement is in response to 2 special investigation reports by the Independent Commission of Investigations. One of the reports related to the death of 81-year-old Noel Chambers, a former inmate at the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center. Chambers died in prison after being incarcerated for 40 years without trial, having been deemed unfit to plead. The second Indicom report related to the treatment and care of the wards of the Rio Cobre Juvenile Correctional Center. While the report highlighted several best practices in relation to the administration and the treatment of the wards, these were overshadowed by allegations of breaches against the rights of the wards and the contravention of key provisions of international conventions, said Samuda. He said an action plan was devised to address the deficiencies in the prison system, such as insufficient medical practitioners, to meet the demands of the current inmate population with special health care needs. Since undertaking this review, the DCS has expanded its cadre of medical doctors to include 5 medical doctors and 6 health aides, Samuda said. The aides have been assigned to the infirmary. Samuda also said approval has been granted by the Finance Ministry to recruit 12 psychiatrists and 10 psychologists to join the 2 psychologists currently on staff. These additions will bring significant improvements in meeting the needs of these vulnerable groups, he said. In the meantime, Samuda said the National Security Ministry is at an advanced stage hiring a specialist psychiatrist who will be tasked with ensuring the timely assessment of all inmates deemed unfit to plead. The objective is to relist their matters before the courts for a final determination. Man allegedly of unsound mind killed in St. James. Tawana Scarlett, whose brother Shamar was killed on November 13 after being attacked by angry residents in Comfort Hall, St. James, believes that he was struggling with mental issues. According to police report, Shamar, 24, who was suspected of burning down an elderly person's house, was chopped and beaten by residents. He was taken to the Cornwall Regional Hospital where he was pronounced dead. Scarlett, who lives in another parish, said she heard that her brother was standing at a corner shop when he was attacked. He didn't realize that the men were heading to him, but someone at the shop told him, but it was too late. He couldn't run again as they rushed down on him and began chopping him. They chopped him in his head and on his hand, she said. It is alleged that Shamar tried to run but fell in a nearby ditch. I heard it took some time for the police to take him out because they were asking persons for help, but no one volunteered. By the time the fire brigade came to take him out, he was already dead, she added between tears. Scarlett said she was told that Shamar had been acting strangely following a breakup with his girlfriend. He was in Spanish Town but said he was going to visit a family member, but he was uncertain where exactly they lived. He didn't have any fare, so I sent his fare for him to return to St. James. But he had called me later to tell me he was hungry and he purchased food with the money. He was also saying some really rude stuff to me, and that was not like him because Shamar and I are very close. He also stated that he was staying with someone in Spanish Town and he returned home a few weeks later, she said. A few weeks later, Scarlett said she got a strange phone call from a woman Shamar said he was staying with. The woman said he won the lotto and he wanted me to go and help him pick it up. I told her I didn't have the time to do it and asked her why didn't she go and help him to pick up his lotto check, she said. Scarlett said months later her mother told her that she was getting reports that Shamar was acting violently. He sounded like he was going off and the persons were saying that he always had a machete with him. I don't know if it is true, but that was what I heard. He sounded like he had a mental problem. No one took him to get medical attention. We are in a family group chat, so I asked her why they didn't call the police, and they said they did, but the police only came and took statements, she said. His killing is heartless because Shamar just wanted help. He wasn't in his right mind when he did what he did, but he didn't deserve death. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.